What more crit books? More music, film, art, literature related books. Charlie Chaplin and His Times. My older brother Rob bought me this book at Downtown Books a long time ago. You should read this. My older brother Rob is the young adult author Obert's Guy. And he writes really awesome books for younger readers that anyone could enjoy. I particularly love his Pillage trilogy. It's like the Secret Garden, but they grow dragons. And, oh man, look at that spill. What's that from? Is that from me? Or was that there already? Okay, I'm going to pretend it's not enough. This book does not have a stain in the middle. Totally does. Scott Fitzgerald. Oh, The Great Gatsby, a literary reference. I love The Great Gatsby. I think you already know. Desire of My Eyes. Life and work of John Ruskin. John Ruskin said, "To see clearly is poetry, prophecy, and religion all in one." I think that's so true. Oh, wait. Oh, look, it's on the back of this book. Greatest thing a human soul ever does in this world is to see something and tell what it saw in a plain way. Hundreds of people can talk for one who can think. Thousands can think for one who can see. To see clearly is poetry, prophecy, and religion. John Ruskin. When artists talk about art, I listen. You know, Young, great musician, has written some of my faves. Rebels on the Backlot. 6 Maverick directors and how they conquered the Hollywood system. Tarantino. Filming Fight Club. Who's that? Oh, that's David Fincher. 3 Kings. I can't remember who directs that one. Anyway. I like books about movies. Oh, Joseph Cornell. Joseph Cornell, some of you might know, made these shadow boxes. He barely ever left New York City, but he would raid the thrift stores and make these boxes. And the boxes themselves were very cool. He'd treat them, paint them over and over, scrape them up, do all kinds of things to them. And they were found boxes generally, or he'd make them out of found materials. And then he would fill them in these beautiful 3-dimensional collages, every one of which really suggests a story or feeling or something. They're incredible. The Shadow Boxes of Joseph Cornell. My book that I've been working on, my 60-chapter multi-form 2-volume, 4,000-page book I've been working on for 14 years, is kind of a shadow box collage. I think of it that way. In fact, I'm going to make one for a potential cover. Because why not? If you spend 15 years on a book, you can throw a rough draft of a cover out there. Anyway, this Joseph Cornell's so cool. Are there any color plates in this one? Yeah, look at this stuff. Look at that. There's this one with the moon. It's so cool. But there's a great book called Dime Store Alchemy from the poet Charles Simic, where it's a bunch of different shadow boxes, images of them from Joseph Cornell. And it's accompanied by pieces of writing from him. And that's a great book. I have to keep rebuying it, though I don't think I own it anymore because I always give it away. Goethe. He's someone I like to know about because he just seems so extra in a way that I can really understand. Like he spent 60 years editing Faust overall, all the parts of Faust. I love that. I'm like, well, I have to read you then because you spent so much time working on this. That's crazy. Also, he was devoted to urban beautification and really improved his city, which I think was Vienna. Yeah, where I used to live as a kid. All right. My parents were in a missionary adjacent type job for a church. And the kids got taken along. But living in Austria is cool. And I don't regret that time at all. Italian cinema from neorealism to the present. Oh, anyone who's ever seen Bicycle Thieves knows the power of Italian neorealism. This director's everyone is born to play one role, and that role is themselves. It's awesome. Indian neorealism, also amazing. Treasury of the World's Great Speeches. I thought about writing a chapter of my book that took the form of a speech. And I still think about it. Could happen in book 2. Guess I've already got some written in my life, but it'd be kind of cool to study all the great ones and then write something. That's a form of writing you don't hear about much. Speeches. 1001 books you must read before you die. I can't die. I haven't read all of them. It's cool to get an idea of the canon. I say smash the canon, dissolve the canon, everything's the canon. However, okay, this book is great, and it's by one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life, Kirsten Pai Buick. She was she taught an art history class that I took at UNM, and it was amazing. And I'm like, it was an African-American art history class, but it was connected to everything. I was taking a 20th century music class at the same time. It's definitely connected to that. Taking an existential philosophy class at the time. It was definitely connected to all that. Anyway, I want to know all the art, and she was great because she could just talk about. I mean, she probably has a YouTube channel. If she doesn't, she totally should. I love books like this. I've meant to start this book like 15 times. I know it would influence my work to know more about allegory. Because what is symbolism if not allegory? You know? Bill Bryson. I'll always owe that guy a debt. He sponsored a long distance hike. I put together a charity hike back in 2001 and volunteered to hike with us. That never happened because our schedules didn't ultimately line up. But just having his name associated with us got us a lot of sponsors. He's an awesome guy. But this book looks interesting. English and How It Got That Way. If I've read it, I don't remember very well. I'm going to reread that. I got this book because Annie Dillard quotes from it in her book, Holy the Firm. It's amazing. Religious art in France of the 13th century. It's so interesting. Like, every stained glass window is as complex as, a great Russian novel. It's like incredible. So interesting. I learned a lot. I got great ideas from this book too. Recommended. Oh, this was that textbook for that class of Kirsten Pai Buick's, and it has so many beautiful art pieces in it. This book is definitely a good one to own. There's one in particular of this angel. Incredible. It's just a brightness. Book about Boswell. Everybody's Boswell. Boswell, who followed Samuel Johnson around forever and wrote about him. And that's like such a crazy way to do a biography. Okay, cool. I'll just hang out with you for the rest of your life then. I knew someone in Albuquerque that was doing that. I wonder if that project kept going. Local traditional dancer, and somebody was following him around writing a biography. Like, that's so zany. But also cool. I love big literary projects. Long form projects, film projects. Barthes reader. I'm always saying, I gotta read more Barthes. I'm always saying, I gotta read more Sontag. I read this dual biography of Sontag and Kale, and it was a weird book, and I didn't keep it. But it made me realize Sontag's legit. Kale is a big phony. No thanks. I realize there's very few female film critics, but she faked a whole book. She wrote just a big bunch of fake nonsense, her Citizen Kane book. And she made up all these lies and said Orson Welles didn't write the script and all this stuff. She just made everything up. Like, she was having AI write it before AI. So I have no respect for Kale, and I think her taste is often really wrong. And but Sontag's cool. She's got some interesting insights and is a good writer. What do you call those kinds of writers? Like academic thought writers? The kind of writers. I feel very dumb sometimes reading some kinds of writing. I mean, I read all kinds of stuff, but I definitely don't mostly read academic stuff. That's in the minority of my reading. readings, but I do read a lot of nonfiction, and I occasionally have science binges where I read a lot of that stuff. I don't know. No one reads everything. And, you know, I was reading on a theme for a while because I was really hating leaf blowers. And still hate leaf blowers, but I think they've gotten a little quieter. They don't bug me quite like they used to. But they're not gas-powered as often, which are horribly polluting, but ugh. Until they're silent, get them out of my world. But this is a really interesting book on the theme of silence and noise, and it's got some really memorable stuff in it. He also goes to some of the world. Well, I'm just making up stuff. He also goes to like some of the loudest places in the world. He goes to a bass contest in Miami, and he basically experiences sound turning into a liquid because it's so loud. That's horrible. He talks about how cities have to use white noise to mask things, usually waterfalls. There's just a certain decibel level you just can't do anything but cover up. But then the brain seems to react to it the same way. He also talks about in here, he says, people that live in really noisy places like New York City, they tend to live a little bit longer. Like it adds 3 or 4 years to your life, but your stress levels are higher. So you're like that. Basically, your quality of life is lower. So the opposite of, well, nasty, brutish, but not that short. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book. So more art, lit crit, film crit. What else? I don't know. Just good stuff. Biographies and studies, things about language. Books are just so great, you know. It's so windy and cold out today where I am. Here, there's blizzards all across the country.